I think one of the clearest signs of maturity is what no longer impresses you, what no longer attracts you, and what no longer has access to you. And I just wanted to share a few things that I no longer do as a matured woman. And I would like for you to share some of those things that you have outgrown, as you have matured, and some of the things that may have resonated with you in this video. All right. And so I would say, firstly, I no longer give access to anything that drains my peace, anything that triggers anxiety or constantly disturbs my spirit. I definitely would reward that with distance. So I am very big at this stage in my life on protecting my peace. If it's chaos, if it's anything that's going to make me, feel just not, at a peaceful state, yeah, I'm I'm not going to be a part of it. Secondly, I no longer buy clothing that is I don't want to say cheap because I would have definitely had those pieces in my closet that is like, okay, it's fashionable, but it probably wouldn't last, for years, right? I just no longer do that. I'm very big at this stage in my life where I want to have quality fabrics, right? Classic, timeless pieces that I can pull out at any given time and it could withstand trends, right? So I'm very, very big on having fewer beautiful things that last as opposed to just budget friendly kind of material. Right. And then also, I no longer glorify being busy. I'm very, very big at this stage in my life on slow living, rest, softness, and intentionality. They are like luxury to me now. Also, I no longer consume junk food constantly. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time that I've put like things like chips and just like those highly processed foods like in my system, right? I've realized how food affects the body and mind, and I've became more intentional about what I eat. And I no longer stay in spaces where I feel, kind of tolerated as opposed to valued, right? And what do I mean by that? Just simply, I feel like it's an environment that doesn't really like align with me. I no longer put myself there. And I love that for me, right? And I no longer overshare details of my life or announce things before they're done. Like, I am very, very big on that now. Like, sometimes if I feel myself wanting to share something that I'm super excited about, it's just something that tells me, okay, Deandra, pump the brakes, right? Relax, calm down, take it down a few notches. And yeah, I have just stopped oversharing because I realize that, not only does your brain kind of tricks you into thinking that that thing that you want to share is completed, it just doesn't give people, access to, the things that you're working on, right? Not everybody has good energy. Not everybody has the best intentions toward you. So yeah, I have completely stopped. I have mastered the art of not oversharing every detail of my life. And that is having discernment, right? Everything does not need immediate access, explanation, or just public commentary. Okay. And I no longer argue to be understood. Maturity taught me everyone is not committed like to understanding you. There are some people that just have made up in their mind that they are, they see things their way, and no matter what you say, they're just set in their way. Excuse Chasey in the background. He's getting some basketball time in. So I'm kind of hitting two birds with one stone today. It's Labor Day morning. It's Labor Day here in the Bahamas. And so, yeah, I took the boys out. We went on the beach at first. And now we are just here on the park, right? Hitting two birds with one stone, as we say in the Bahamas. So if you hear that noise in the background, that's my baby boys just getting in some much needed playtime and their time and all the things. All right. And so, number 8, I no longer chase friendships, relationships, or opportunities that feel one sided. If I feel that, I would have overextended myself, you have about one good time to make me feel like, yeah, this is a one-sided situation, and I promise you it will be the last time we ever speak. Anything that is draining as a mature woman, I'm sorry, I just cannot do. And I no longer wait for special occasions to enjoy my life. As you know, this is the channel for intentional and abundant living, honey. We're going to be living and enjoying life, whatever that means to us on this side of heaven, right? We're definitely going to do that. And so I wear my good perfume. I travel and I celebrate ordinary days. Like today, this is a holiday, here in the Bahamas, and we've already done the beach, right? We're here. I'm here sitting in nature as I love. Your girl loves to sit in nature, right? And yeah, I'm going to find every opportunity to enjoy my life. Remember last time, the video about romanticizing your life, remember I told you about my Starbucks cup? Here she is. And darling, I love filling this with water. This is about 30 ounces. And I love filling that with water and slipping slowly and doing all the things that just allows me to romanticize my life. All right. And so I also no longer abandon myself trying to make everybody else feel comfortable. Like being a no limit soldier. Oh, yeah. My days of that is completely over. Absolutely, they are. That is completely over for me. And I no longer pour endlessly into people who never pour back into me. Now, keep in mind that I've never been like a people pleaser, not even a day in my life. So, I have never like struggled with trying to, you know, detach myself from people pleasing, but I have been victim to like saying, okay, well, let's just say in terms of family members, like you'll say, oh, because this one is family or whatever, let me do this and let me do that. No, darling, it doesn't matter who you are. I am definitely no longer pouring endlessly into people who never pour back into me, and no blood can force me to do that. That is just something I no longer do as a mature woman. And I've outgrown gossip-centered conversations, right? If I'm on the phone and we're talking about people, I'm so sorry. I'm going to find a way to wrap it up. I find no joy in that. And, yeah, as a mature woman, I don't want to gossip, period. Like, I find myself decentering people, right? In my daily life, in my interactions with, like, especially women. Like, if we're going to sit down and talk about people, we need to evaluate ourselves. We really need to evaluate ourselves. So I'd rather discuss ideas, goals, healing, books, travel, business, or growth, right? I've outgrown the need to constantly consume. So as of late, I also manage my subscriptions, right? What is tapping into my bag, honey? Right? I am very careful about what I consume, not only money wise, but also in my mind, right? I also value quality over quantity, as I stated earlier, whether it be clothes, friendships, food, and experiences. I've outgrown the need to constantly consume. And I've also outgrown hyper independence. Remember, I talked about being like, the no limit soldier and the I'm the strong woman kind of narrative. No. I'm very much a damsel in distress. I can hold my own, but I've outgrown hyper independence. I no longer believe I have to carry the entire world, on my back or prove that I am strong. I definitely do not do that anymore as a matured woman. And I don't normalize things like struggle, right? I love peace. I embrace support. I embrace ease, softness, and stability are things that now I actively desire them, right? And I've outgrown suffering in silence. If you mash on my toe, I'm going to tell you that, hey, you're mashing on my toe. I verbalize, I communicate, I ask for support when I need it. And I've outgrown shrinking myself to make other people feel comfortable. I remember once ago, and I don't know if you ladies could relate to this or if anyone can relate to this who's watching, but I would feel like if I am shining, if my light is shining, like especially among women, I would feel the need to not dim my light, but kind of, I don't even know how to explain it, but kind of not make other people feel bad because I'm shining. Does that make sense? Yeah, I no longer do that. I have my stuff on and I'm confident and I'm in the room and I'm not harming anybody. I want you to feel, I realize that your confidence and the way that you move through the world, is your responsibility. And while I'm not going to make that hard for you, I don't think it's my responsibility to have to dim down or water down myself just so that you could feel comfortable. And that is something that, yeah, I've outgrown as a matured woman, right? And I've also outgrown moving through life aimlessly. Everything I do is with intention now. Like I said today, I'm here with my sons intentionally, right? It's a holiday. Baby girl is by her nana's, right? Hubby wanted to get some things done. And so the boys, I went to get like my morning coffee just to be, in nature. I wanted to have that in nature. And I asked the boys, do you guys want to come? And they're like, yeah, mommy. And so they would have swam on the beach and now they're hooping. Everything is intentional now and everything counts. And it's a big part of creating a life that is just intentional and abundant. The small things. It's definitely in the small things. So I've moved through life. I don't move through life aimlessly, right? I move with goals, with vision, with structure, and with purpose. And I've outgrown just buying things that just because I could buy them. I think I mentioned that earlier, right? On what I consume. Yeah, that is something I'm very, very big on now. I'm intentional with the coins, baby. Very, very intentional with the coins. And I've also outgrown spending hours endlessly watching television. I couldn't tell you the last time that I've sit down and binged watch. I think the last thing was Bridgerton, the last Bridgerton. I haven't really watched TV since then. Right. And I watched that as soon as that came out because I find myself now reading more of my books, right? Journaling, researching, creating, learning, and just building or pouring into my ideas. I find myself being more fulfilled doing that as opposed to just constantly. I remember there were times when I would just spend all day in bed, just consuming TV. That is just something that I no longer do as a matured woman. And I've outgrown believing burnout is normal. A regulated nervous system is part of luxury to me. Yeah, if it's, once ago I used to be like, oh, I have to get this done, even procrastinating. Yeah, I'm going to cage myself. I'm not going to burn myself out. And I've also outgrown proving my intelligence, my worth, or my capability. At this stage in my life, I let consistency, results, character, and presence speak for themselves. I'll give you an example of this. I was at my good place of work, and one of my supervisors, she was like, Miss Dean, I want you to do this. She asked me to do this thing, and I was very capable of it. I'm capable of a lot, actually. But, they say when you let your workplace know that you could do something, they never stop calling on you. Well, that was me, right? And she was very pleasant about it. She's a very, very kind lady. And we would have had a very laughable exchange. And I told her, I said, I'll do it. And she said, you have so much of this talent just, wrapped up. And I laughed because that's intentional. Yeah, I don't want to prove that I could do certain things. If you know kind of way. And I'm fine with that. I don't feel the need to tell everybody that, oh, I have excellent written communication skills, oral communication skills. Sorry, written and verbal, excellent written and verbal communication skills. I can present, I can train, I can teach, I can create, no, I don't think that I need to announce that from the mountaintop. If that makes sense, right? I definitely don't feel like I need to prove my worth. And also, I've outgrown environments that require me to disconnect from beauty, joy, and pleasure. Beautiful experiences, travel, aesthetic, fragrance, music, rest, and meaningful moments matter to me now. All of that matters to me now. And, I've just outgrown being a person that feels the need to explain why I live the life that I live. Like, I'm a woman that believes in intentional and abundant living. I like nice things. I like sitting in nature. I like being an introvert. I love reading, journaling, sitting with self. I love me. And I feel like I so proud of being mature enough to say that. When you're younger, there's so many times that, you're kind of like, I know when I was in my 20s, you're like unsure about, who you are. You're still in your becoming. But now I could sit and say, like, I'm Deandra. Like, this is me. I am unapologetically me. And I love that. Like, I'm 39 now, headed into 40, and I think it's going to get worse, because they're like, oh, your 30s are like the best years. Sorry, your 40s are like the best decade of your life. And I could completely see it because it's just like something clicks. Like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. And I want everyone to just understand that and let me be. And if you don't understand that, that's okay too. All right. And I've outgrown like code switching also to make other people feel more comfortable around me. Like, I know back in the day, this is me back in the day. I know some years ago, like, people would say things like, oh, that's Miss Bahamas right there. Or, that they just try to make you feel bad for keeping yourself at a certain standard or acting in a certain way. Like some people say, oh, well, you act white. Oh, my goodness. Like, just because I'm from like an urban community, right? Does that mean that I'm not supposed to speak well or like I'm not supposed to present myself well or think highly of myself? Like, yeah, I'm at the point like if you think that a well-spoken black woman is acting white, like that's not my burden to carry. I no longer let those things bother me. And honestly, one thing that has helped me become more intentional is just like, yeah, journaling and writing these things down and processing and realizing like, yeah, it's okay, Deandra. All of this is okay. You're becoming, you're in your own, right? Maturity for me has not been about becoming perfect. It's been about becoming more intentional, more aware, more discerning, more protective of my peace, and just all the things, allowing myself like to evolve. And that is something that I wish that everyone could experience. And even though when we go through our different stages and phases, of life, it's not going to all come together, at the same time. But it is my wish for you as a matured woman to like get there, like be like, you know what? This is who I am in my becoming, and it's absolutely okay. Like, I love this for me. I love this stage and phase of my life for me. And honestly, I wish I had arrived at this destination sooner, right? Like now I don't want to say I don't care because then that would sound like so dismissive or like, you know, I definitely care, but it is not my priority to make people want to understand me, if that makes sense, right? I am at such a good and peaceful place in my life that there's very few things that really ruffles my feathers, if that makes sense. So I just wish that for all of you guys. And again, if there's anything that would have resonated with you or anything that you may want to add to this, that you no longer do as a matured woman, I want to hear your thoughts. Thank you for sitting with me on this beautiful Labor Day here in Nassau, the Bahamas, on one of our beautiful parks. And I look forward to seeing your comments I look forward to engaging with you in the comment section. Bye for now.